Definitely the Van Gogh coming out of the tube is a lot.
In today's video, I'm comparing two student grade watercolor paints, the Winsor Newton Cotman and the Royal Talons Van Gogh. Royal Talons actually claim that their Van Gogh paints aren't student grade, that they're actually one step above. So I'm interested and actually really excited to see, could this be a cost-effective paint for beginners? Make sure you stick around to the end because I'll swatch my professional paints and tell you how everything actually stacks up. On with the swatching.
Now keep in mind, student grade paints, the saturation of color is one of the main things you take the hit on because it's more filler. So sometimes it takes way more paint to get a nice, bright, rich color. With professional grade, a little goes a long way. So it's almost more beneficial to buy the professional grade unless you can find a really good student grade. Let's try our yellow. This is the Cad Yellow. Now, typically cadmium paints are opaque, but this isn't a real cadmium paint. It's Cad Yellow Hue, which means it's made to look like Cad Yellow, but it's not made with what Cad Yellow is usually made with. And this is transparent. Let's do our burnt sienna next. Now, Winsor Newton is the brand of burnt sienna in the professional grade that I use because it's made with actually a red pigment. I don't like the dull brown burnt sienna that a lot of the companies make. Oh, this is like, I can see the difference putting it on the paper. It doesn't have the same consistency as the professional paint has, but that's due to the fillers. Right now, I just want to see how the colors are. Ooh. I would say this is PR 101 too. It really looks like it. So this should be very similar, but this has a tone to it that is vibrant. Funny how you see the different colors, very similar. I'm thinking the Van Gogh seems to have a little more pigment in it, so let's go to the reds. The Winsor Newton Permanent Rose. I really like the Winsor Newton. Oh, I like this one too. So right off the bat, this Quin Rose is a lot cooler than the Permanent Rose. Let's try the Cad Red Pale, Winsor Newton. I had a hard time finding a nice warm red in the Winsor Newton. Cad Pale seems to be the best choice for me anyway, for how I set my palette up. So far, the transparency is wonderful on both. The lemon yellow in the Winsor is a little more transparent than the Van Gogh. You can just see kind of a little haze on that line. Let's go to Permanent Red Light. This is cooler, so that's warmer and that's warmer. It's not enough that it makes a difference. Now we're going to go for Ultramarine Blue. Well, you know what? It almost looks like it is granulating like Ultramarine Blue in the professional grade. Okay, I like this Ultramarine Blue. It is quite a bit darker than the Winsor Newton Cotman. On to Phthalo Blue. Now, phthalos are typically very staining. They like to take over, but they're such a beautiful blue. It almost looks like to me that I could have watered down the Van Gogh a little more, even though I'm using similar amounts of water, which might be a plus. It'll go further. Let's try the Van Gogh, Phthalo Blue. That's nice. And again, with that saturation. The Van Gogh, so far, I'm liking them just as much as the Cotman, except for maybe, I love this right here. This is beautiful. And I like the Cad Red Pale better than the Perm Red Light, but I like the Quin Rose better than the Permanent Rose. So there's pluses and minuses to everything. Let me grab my Pro paints and we will swatch those. Hansa Light is what I use, and I love Hansa Yellow. Now this is the new Gamboge. It is the M. Graham because it is very sticky. M. Graham uses honey, so they re-wet so well because they never actually get hard like some paints do. This is a beautiful warm yellow, nice and clean and clear. Let's go to the Quin Rose. And I'm actually putting a lot of water in there. Now there's a little bit of a drying shift. It will dry down a little duller. By far, this is my favorite, Quin Rose. Not to say that you cannot use the other ones. And that's why I'm going to do mixing and a color chart with them as well, so we can really see what their limitations are. Let's grab my warm red. This is Pyrrole Red. And you'll notice as these paints are drying, the Van Gogh, I can see them. They're almost drying kind of grainy. That could possibly cause a problem. So let's do our Ultramarine Blue. And my Ultramarine Blue in this palette, I believe, is the Daniel Smith. Oh my goodness, see? Let's get that out of there. I'll lift that up before we go. Not even in the right spot. Yeah, I love this burnt sienna. This is the Winsor Newton PR 101. Oh, didn't mean to hit it that wide. Now I'm running my other one. Wherever water is, the paint's going to follow. See if I can lift a little bit of this. Now, this is definitely the M. Graham Phthalo Blue, and I love the M. Graham Phthalos. They are so vibrant. Keep in mind I kind of scrubbed that paper there a little bit. With cheaper paper isn't usually a good thing to do. So I went away, I let this dry, and I'm just going to check to see how easy they lift. Burnt sienna is always a good lifter. And if you want to really know, you can just always, after you do that, you can just dab it. And if you look, it's right down to the white of the paper. All right, let's try the Van Gogh. So as you can see, the stainers are still somewhat staining in the cheaper paints as well, except for the new Gamboge, but they're all different actual pigments. So we really can't even count that. But I would say they're all kind of comparable. I'm going to stop the video here. We'll do another video for the color mixing wheels. Stay tuned because we will find the best beginning watercolor supplies for the best price.